Hello, welcome to my channel WWE Pulse.
This is the Manager The Mouthpiece. Oh, no. Don't think of it as being a manager. Think of it as being a mouthpiece. That's right. The manager is the wrestler's mouthpiece. You don't really have to be a great talker yourself if you've got somebody up at the top doing all the talking for you. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. Some of the greatest mouths. Not necessarily great manager, but great mouths ever to grace the squared circle. All right, so let's start with my pick for no 3. And again, I'm kind of going in reverse order here. So, no. 3 is actually one of my favorites all time. A guy who was an amazing wrestler in his own right, but he took his career to another level by becoming the mouth for the most dominant force in professional wrestling, and that is Andre the Giant. I am, of course, talking about the great Bobby. And you know, Bobby Heenan was already a star in the WWF when he started managing Andre the Giant. But man, it put him over the top. And Bobby Heenan was already a great talker. He was already very good at what he did. But Andre was a big deal. And you know, Andre didn't speak much English. I mean, he spoke French. So a lot of times Andre would just kind of point at people, you know, and like make little comments here and there. But Bobby Heenan could do everything for him. He could go out there and trash talk for him. He could go out there and sell tickets for him. He could do interviews for him. And you know, Bobby Heenan knew how to play off of Andre's size and his strength and just basically take it to another level. In fact, Andre would always go after Bobby Heenan's bald spot, which of course made Bobby Heenan furious. So Bobby Heenan would come up with different ways to try to protect his bald spots. One of the funniest things I remember was Andrea actually put a bag on Bobby Heenan's head, like a paper bag, and then put a big X on it so that they wouldn't hit his bald spots. And Bobby Heenan was trying to manage him, and it was just hilarious. So Bobby Heenan really helped put Andre over, and Andre helped put Bobby Heenan over. So it was kind of like a perfect marriage. No. 2. Paul Heyman. Now, Paul Heyman has been a manager, he's been a booker, he's been a writer, and of course, he's been a very successful advocate for many years. But you know, the thing with Paul Heyman is he has such a great talker that he elevates everybody he has around. In fact, he actually was never a full-time manager. He usually had other roles in the company. But when he did manage people, they got a big boost. I mean, you remember Paul Heyman managing the big boss man at WCW. Of course, he managed Shawn Michaels in the WWF for a short time. Arguably, one of the best talkers in the history of professional wrestling. Managed the likes of Brock Lesnar, managed CM Punk. So many great names that were already stars. But Paul Heyman took them to another level. But the cool thing about Paul Heyman is he doesn't really need the wrestler. He can go out there and do it all himself. I mean, he's such a great talker. He can sell tickets. He can do interviews. In fact, he does so much of the interviews now for Brock Lesnar. It's almost like he's doing double duty as a manager. Even though he's not officially Brock's manager, he's kind of doing the job of a manager without actually having that title. So Paul Heyman is definitely number 2 on my list. And that means no 1. Well, you probably already know who it is. It is the one and only, the great, the Silver King, the scourge of the internet, the one who turned pro wrestling fans into the smarks that they are today. I am, of course, talking about the legendary heel manager, the one and only, the great promo cutter, Jim. So when you look at Jim Cornette, you might say, wait a minute, he wasn't really a manager for very long. He was a manager slash booker in some cases, but he wasn't really a manager. Well, that's kind of the whole point, because the best managers are the ones that don't really need to be there. The wrestler can kind of do their own thing. The manager is just there as the mouthpiece. And, Jim Cornette, although he was in charge of creative in some cases, still came up with some great promos. I mean, he would cut promos on behalf of the Midnight Express. He would cut promos on behalf of the Rock and Roll Express, even though they were... But, Jim Cornette was a great manager because he was just the mouthpiece for the guys who could undo it themselves. I mean, the Rock and Roll Express could go out there and have a match, but they weren't the greatest talkers. So, Jim Cornette did it for them, and he also did it for the Freebirds. I mean, he managed the Freebirds during their last run in the UWF, and those guys, I mean, they were kind of like a lower card team, but Jim Cornette elevated them. I mean, they were suddenly main eventing shows. And it was just because of Jim Cornette's ability to cut great promos, and also he would get so much heat as a villainous manager that the heroes would get a big boost from it. So you really had both sides benefiting from Jim Cornette's presence. And it really makes you wonder what would have happened if Jim Cornette had gone out there and actually tried to manage like a great talking wrestler. I mean, he managed Steve Austin once for a short time. Imagine if he had managed somebody like Steve Austin for a longer period of time. Somebody who already knew how to talk but could use Jim Cornette as a kind of sounding board. Would have been amazing. So Jim Cornette is definitely one on my list. Now there are some honorable mentions here that I have to give. You had guys like Joseph and Frederick. Frederick was the manager for Vader, and, he really kind of helped Vader out. Also, you had Freddie Blassie. He managed a lot of people throughout the years, but he really kind of became synonymous with Buddy Rogers. Then you had Lou Albano, who managed the likes of Hulk Hogan, and, he was a great manager, especially for Hulk Hogan. And you had Sitcho Sid, managed by Colonel D. So many great managers throughout the years. It's hard to pick just three, but those are my top three. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. This has been your host, and until next time, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to smash that thumbs up button and share this with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe. We've got lots of great content coming your way. This November. We're celebrating all month long with special content every day. Check back often to see what new videos we've uploaded. Thank you for watching.
Okay guys, thank you for watching my videos.